I'm Cathy and welcome to Lunarbird Book Club. Hello, so this is my wrap up for November and December. I failed to film any clips in November at all, and now we're nearly midway through December and this is the first time I'm filming. So let's just consider this my end of year wrap up and all the books I've been reading. This last couple of months have been a bit chaotic. We're having our kitchen done, so maybe in the new year I'll share some footage of that. It's been very, very exciting, but it means we've had to do all of our cooking in the dining room this month. Furniture dust has been all over the place. We're living out of bags in different rooms, losing everything and trying to get ready for Christmas. It's been absolutely mayhem, but I'm really excited about having a nice, new, clean, finished kitchen. Hopefully for Christmas, definitely for the new year. So that's why I've not been filming a lot. I've actually been reading a lot, and I've read some really, really good books in the last couple of months, and I'm really happy to share them with you. So, first of all, I have finished my collected works of H.G Wells. Really enjoyed this. I think last time I spoke to you, I was partway through War of the Worlds. So I finished War of the Worlds, I read The First Men on the Moon, and I read The World Set Free. All really fantastic work. I enjoy really focusing sometimes on one author at a time, and to spend some time with H.G Wells was really good fun. I think the only thing that feels a little bit unfinished for me is that I now want to read a biography of H.G Wells to get to know him a little bit more. And then that could be my author deep dive of 25, although I'll probably jump into 26 because I've not yet found a biography. But yeah, I started the year wanting to do an author deep dive, failed a couple of times, stumbled upon this and had a really good time with it. The last work in here in particular, The World Set Free, was very interesting because he wrote it in 1913, set it in like 1950s, and was anticipating the world wars and nuclear bombs and what impact he thought that would have on society. And it makes for a very interesting read, and I really appreciate his desire to see a society better than what he was experiencing. And I feel like that drive to see big societal change was hidden behind a lot of his science fiction works, and that's what makes his writing very interesting and emotive to come back to. So had a really good time reading H.G Wells. Okay, then I listened to an audio book called The Secrets of a Prayer Warrior by Derek Prince. He was a Christian author and preacher. I know that my parents listened to a lot of his Bible teaching in the 80s, so I was interested to read this book. This was really good, had lots of inspiring and challenging thoughts about how Christians ought to pray, very practical ideas of how to go about doing that, and rooting it all back into scripture. It did get me praying more, which I'm really grateful for. And yeah, that was a really interesting book. I would say the audio narration of it wasn't great. That was the worst thing about reading the book, was the narration was just a little bit dry. The writing is so full of personality and power, and yet it was recorded in a way as if every sentence sounded the same, had the same inflection, the same tone as the one before it, and that was a little bit frustrating. But overall, it was a good book, and I'm really glad I read it. And I think if I came across a hard copy somewhere, I'd probably want to buy it and have my own copy and make some notes and revisit it. So that was a good experience too. Then I read another non-fiction book, the Doer Hord by Hana Videen. This is a look at the way Anglo-Saxons wrote about animals. So it's a look at the different words and language and stories Anglo-Saxon writers used to talk about the animal world and their myths, their legends, their folklore, how it connected to religious writings. This took me quite a long time to read because I felt it was a bit of a hit and miss book for me. There were some chapters in here that were really, really interesting, and then other times it was just a little bit dull. But I persevered because there was just some really good nuggets in here overall, and I feel like I want to again go back and look at some of these words in more detail, perhaps pinch a few words for some stories that I'm writing. I really appreciated the way that it linked animal mythology to religious mythology, and how those two things sometimes connect to one another, or how religious writers of the past would use animals to help express spiritual truths. So yeah, I would say this was an interesting book in small doses. It was enough to read a chapter at a time and then have a little break and then go back to it. So not one that gripped me, but one that I found very interesting and informative, and I learned some new stories that I never heard of before, so that is always fun. Okay, and then the next book I read was Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I actually didn't read it, I listened to an audio version. I have read this edition many times, but I thought for a change I'll listen to an audiobook version of it. Partly inspired because Rachel is reading Wuthering Heights at the moment, and partly inspired because there's a film coming out next year called Wuthering Heights, in quotation marks, and the trailers have sparked a lot of controversy, and it just made me want to revisit the original story. And man, I have so enjoyed going back to Wuthering Heights. This is one of my favourite books of all time, and I think when Rachel finishes it, we will do a joint review of it together, but I don't know if I can wait, because I've got so many thoughts after just rereading it. Like, there's too much I want to say to even put in here, but I love it. I get why it's a bit of a Marmite book for some. The characters behave in appalling ways. It's very intense, it's melodramatic, it's set in its Victorian era. It's also set in a very northern culture, which I think doesn't connect to everybody, but I love. And I just find it's a very consuming work of fiction for me. When I start listening to it or reading it, it just absorbs me, and I think about the characters all day long and questioning why they do what they do. And every time I read it, I always half hope or expect something else will happen. Like, there are times where you can see the doom coming, and I think maybe this time when I read it, maybe Catherine will get away, or maybe Heathcliff will make a different choice, or maybe like Edgar will just not say that thing that's going to spiral out of control. But you know, the inevitable always happens. Yeah, I have a lot to say about this book. I absolutely adore it. I think I probably have a lot of opinions about adaptations about Wuthering Heights too, so I might have to do a whole separate video on that. But yeah, I've been reading Wuthering Heights this month, and it's been fantastic. And then the last book I have finished just in the last couple of days has been The Fox Wife, and again, absolute hit for me. This might be one of my top books of the year. Again, I fell into this book, and every time I read it, it just felt like stepping into another world. It's absolutely brilliant. It's about a folklore myth in China where there are these fox wives, or fox people who can turn into foxes, or foxes who can turn into people, and they sometimes seduce hapless humans and feed off their life force. So you've got this one fox lady who's kind of on her own personal quest for revenge, and she's following her story along. And then you have this other perspective of a detective in his 60s who is tracking down what happened to a young woman who was found dead, left in an alleyway, abandoned in like the abandoned doorway of a restaurant, and he's searching down what happened to her. And these two stories interconnect and combine. Both narratives are told really, really well. I absolutely loved everything about it. I love the atmosphere, I love the style, I love the pacing of the plot, which for some people I know will probably be a bit too slow, but for me, it was just like, I don't know, it was like traveling down a smoothly flowing river. You were moving along, but the pace was steady. I loved the build-up of the fox mythos. It was really well done, really well executed. Yeah, so I just loved this completely. The pacing was perfect, the atmosphere was amazing. I really felt for the characters, including lots of different side characters. And I don't know a lot about Chinese culture or history or politics, and I feel like I know more about them now by reading this without it coming across like a textbook or an explanation at all. You're just like immersed in this different culture and setting, and it was really, really engaging. So yeah, that's my last wrap up of 2025. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. There's an event on in the park nearby, and they're giving announcements right now, and I'm trying to film. I really, really enjoyed it. I love the build-up of the... So yeah, that's my...